Hey everyone, Ronnie Chalvis here at Lowe's Extreme Air Sports to bring you some new tutorials on the aerial and on the aerial twist or A-twist. That'll be my next video. I wanted to thank my Patreon followers for requesting these videos. You can become a patron to get the special perk of requesting my next tutorials as well as receiving one-on-one personal training advice with me. So be sure to go check that out. But today let's get started on the aerial. We're gonna learn how to aerial from flat, how to do it from a run, and how to do it from height and off of really high things. But remember, this move can be dangerous, so make sure you learn it in a safe environment like here with pads or on a trampoline, and we'll show you the technique so you can know how to progress into it. The first thing I want to start off with are the prerequisites before learning the aerial. If you're a free runner, I'd recommend you start with the B kick first, or butterfly kick, because it's an easy way to start practicing the motion and the momentum without it being super dangerous. If you're a gymnast, then a B kick may throw off your technique of having perfect aerial form, but if you don't care about having perfect gymnastics form, then I'd just recommend learning a B kick first. I'd also recommend that you have the basic technique of a Webster down. If you know how to get a basic Webster around and know how to kick your leg properly, it's gonna make getting an aerial around much easier. But you can learn the aerial on its own just from progressing from the B kick. The main difference between the B kick and the aerial is with the B kick, your body is going parallel to the ground, and with the aerial, your body is going vertical. So your legs are going above your head. B kick, legs are going out, kind of laid out like you're doing a pancake in the air. You can also progress into this move from a cartwheel. So doing the same type of setup, you're just going to touch your hands on the ground and practice that leg kick, doing a really powerful cartwheel. Now the less weight you put on your hands doing the cartwheel, the more it's going to start feeling like an aerial. You can practice it doing one hand at a time. So if I'm going to practice a cartwheel going to my opposite hand, then this hand I can lift up like I would an aerial. So combining all these different progressions, the B kick, the cartwheel, and then practicing the aerial onto pads or on trampolines, all these things will help round out your overall body coordination and control for learning a new move. So in setting up for the aerial, I actually like to set it up like I do with the B kick. The only difference is instead of sweeping and lifting with my chest like I do with the B kick, I'm actually going to be bringing it straight across, and then a lot of the aerial is going to rely on this kicking leg and my jump. The timing of those two things are what's really going to help me get it around. So I bring my chest across, and then as I'm jumping, I'm kicking this leg as hard as I can, driving my heel towards the ceiling and jumping off my toes here. My arms are going to be kind of throwing me to get some extra rotation on the flip. I like to bring my right arm to kind of lift me here, almost like a Russian front flip. This arm will be lifting my body, similar technique to a Russian. Instead of being here, it's gonna be here, and that way I can keep my chest open, looking towards the ground. That's another thing to keep in mind, is with the aerial, you still want to be able to see the ground the entire time. If you're not seeing the ground, it probably means you're turning it into an aerial twist. So once you're taking off and kicking this leg, you want to really make sure you're whipping it around. You want to make sure you're also driving your hips up, because your chest is going to be a lot lower than with most flips. You really want to make sure it's your legs and hips that are getting high in the air to flip you around. And with this kicking leg, it's just going to be this subtle shift, whereas you're spotting the ground, you just keep driving that leg all the way around until you can kick it around and land on that kicking leg. The easiest way to practice that kicking motion is from the B kick itself. It's just practicing keeping that nice kicking leg straight and leading with it as you spin around like that. So you can practice that kick without actually going inverted. But when you do actually go for the trick, the more you can really drive that kicking leg, the easier it's going to be and the easier you'll land it and get it around. There's a few different ways you can take off with the aerial. I personally like to do the standing with a little bit of a twist setup. You can also do a running straight into it setup, which is more the gymnastic style. It's like you're running into it to do a round off or a Webster. My other favorite technique that I think you get the most power from is actually a spinning setup technique similar to what I do for B-twists, only I'm setting it for an aerial, and I find I get a lot of power from this as well. But basically what this is, I'm starting like I'm going to do an aerial, but then I step and spin and do a full 360 so that I have all this momentum going into it, but instead of throwing it into a B-twist here, I'm just gonna throw it straight forward into that aerial. Now when doing aerials off of different objects, we've learned how to do it on flat ground. Now you can also do it off of low ledges. Off low ledges, you can still land it on one foot, but I'd be careful because it's gonna be more pressure on that one leg. So another thing I'll do off ledges is just bring my 2 feet together and land on 2 legs, and it still looks pretty cool that way. And if you're doing it off really high ledges, which I wouldn't recommend you do until you've had years of training doing flips from ground to height, etc., so you have the strength and the technique to do it from high ledges, is when I do aerials off high ledges, my technique's a little bit different. I'm doing the flip and everything the same, but I'm not trying to jump super high, and I'm not kicking my leg super hard. I'm just doing it enough to get the flipping rotation, and I'm almost dropping down as I go into the flip, so the landing's not as hard from jumping higher into the air. So there you have it. There's how you do the aerial with different setups, different takeoffs, and different landings. Be sure to subscribe for more tutorials. Like I said, the A-twist tutorial is going to be my next tutorial coming out, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to check out my Patreon page if you're interested in some one-on-one advice, as well as requesting my next tutorials. So thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.